for the viewers watching, like where were you in January? Like what was the business side? Where was the focus? What would Joe do if lead prediction was at 100K a month?
I kind of spent the last 6 months and like especially the last quarter of 2024 really just like refining a lot of systems, training up certain individuals to get to the point where I could remove myself, etc. So that was what a huge focus of the end of Q4 was.
People think that they don't have time to reach their milestones.
How can you expect to grow when all you see around you is 5 to 10K a month?
Guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I haven't done a video like this in a while. We kind of steered away from doing the testimonials with Affinity, and we've started a lot of business to business consulting. And Joe Boyle is a good friend of mine from Ireland as well. I remember taking the first call with Joe like 3 years ago when I was in Alicante, he was in Valencia, and he was kind of doing SMMA with pest control companies at the time. And he reached out December asking about sales. Hey, we're doing this amount per month. We're at 30K. We want to grow the business. What do you think we should do? And I was like, I think I should work with you. And 3 months on, they've hit the record month and targets. And we'll walk through that in this call. But first, I want to introduce Joe because he's built a fantastic team over at Lead Prediction from 30K a month to 108,000 in March 2025. So without further ado, Joe, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Joe from Clare in Ireland. As I said, I kind of met Warren 2.5, 3 years ago or whatnot when doing similar stuff, but nowhere near where we are now. So it's been a long learning curve and journey for me. Always stayed in touch with him, met him in Marbella. I'm living in Marbella now at the moment, so it's kind of came full circle, which is crazy and incredible. Warren convinced me to drop out of college along with Josh as well. So that was the best consulting I got out of anything from Warren. But yeah, we run, well, my company's Lead Prediction. We do lead generation for local service companies with cold email based systems, but that's not really the main point of this specifically, because what I kind of came to Warren for assistance and help was it was from the sales aspect and sales perspective, and we built a big sales team. But if I'm honest, like one of the main takeaways, and you'd agree with this, Warren, is like just the mental side of it. I think just like constantly realizing what's possible. And that's something you're very strong and very good at, obviously with everything sales-wise as well that you assisted with, but that's where I got a huge outcome of it. A lot of our calls we took was just me reframing what was possible. I think even just before we hit our record month, I was on the call with you like a few hours before, probably like, I don't think we're going to hit it. And then you kind of reframed that attitude, and then bang, 12 hours later, we collected 20K that day. Yeah, that's where we're at so far.
Let's go. Yeah, it's one hell of an introduction, Joe, because you skipped a few steps within it, which I'm sure people would like to hear through today, especially with when you're at 30K a month. I mean, ultimately, whenever you want to get to the next level on anything, you have to kind of be thinking there before. There's a verse in the Bible, I can't remember what exact verse it is, but it talks about be before you become. And if you constantly do that, naturally you become that person. And so that's what we did focus on with Joe. I mean, ultimately, I think it's identity building. What would Joe do if Lead Prediction was at 100K a month? Who would you have on the team? What would they be doing daily? And for the viewers watching, like where were you in January? Like what was the business side? Where was the focus? I know obviously you reached out to me to help with sales, and ultimately the main thing you got out of it was the mental aspect. But like, where were you mentally, and where were you thinking at that time?
Yeah, we had. So in January, we were doing in and around 30K per month, but it was kind of a very scrappy 30K per month. We had no kind of sales process or sales systems in place. Marketing was a bit all over the shop, growing with referrals here and there, as most businesses or agencies do at that kind of stage. Had around 4 team members, maybe 2 full-time, 1 part-time. And I kind of spent the last 6 months, and like especially the last quarter of 2024, really just like refining a lot of systems, training up certain individuals to get to the point where I could remove myself, etc. So that was what a huge focus of the end of Q4 was. But it put us in a position for then me to turn around at the start of the year and say, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. That hard graft and work and painful kind of process is done. How do I turn this up now? How do I turn up the speed and the dial? And from there, then I completely realigned what was possible with it, realigned the goals overall, and turned on the marketing machine, turned on the sales machine, and kind of grew from there. I know naturally I'm going to skip over steps that if you think there's something relevant there, pull in, because for me, it's just all out there, so for say.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like, although it was 3 months, it's still a long process to turn the business around. I mean, you can do a lot in 3 months. People think that they don't have time to reach their milestones. And I remember fondly on one of the first calls, you're like, okay, the obviously the main goal is to get to 6 figures. What does that specifically look like? And I remember breaking it down with you and just taking it step by step each month. Hey, look, who's in place? Who's the setters? How many closers? Who's managing this? Who's doing that? How do you get off that? Because I remember when we were in Marbella the last time, before we had started all this, you were kind of doing everything. It was like you were working in the business instead of on the business.
Oh, completely.
What was that kind of switch over? What did you put in place?
Well, that was 9 months ago with that conversation. It stayed like that for 4 or 5 months until I started to make some hires eventually and systemize some items. But it takes time to do that as well. But once you do and you put the effort into it, it's the boring stuff you don't want to do. It sometimes means results aren't as good for clients maybe, but at the same time, it's like 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. And that's kind of the approach and the view I take to absolutely everything. If something isn't to that standard, it's like, wait, did I have to do it? No. Did it get done? Did I get to dedicate in something higher leverage that actually move the business forward? Cool. Excellent. We're moving in that regard. So like, it was just from really breaking down where my time needs to be. And last year I started to do that for the first time, and then slowly started to pull bits of my time back to be able to focus on other items. But I just kept going. There's always more to pull on. And especially at the start of this year, I was like, by the end of Q1, we want to be at 6 figures per month, but I want to be able to look at my calendar and ask myself, what do I want to work on today? That no one's in my calendar and tasking me. And we really have got that for the first time. That was a big shift. Like right now, I take nothing from a sales perspective other than an odd referral call. Clients are all being managed, not by me. So what am I doing and spending my time? I can take 3 hours in the morning to make one decision that's going to pull the biggest lever in the business to drive us forward. Whereas before, those things were always under pressure or getting asked by people for a million other tasks. So can truly be a CEO at this stage.
Yeah, there's a big switch in the overall business when somebody can do that, right? I mean, there's an old saying by Rockefeller where if you're working all the time on task here, task there, where's your time to think about how to get rich?
Yeah.
Because you're just in this loop of like not being able to make money. Like typically the people who make the least amount of money are frantic, running around all the time. It just doesn't seem to work on its own. And you really gotten to that point now. It's like, what's the next steps with lead prediction? Like you've gotten to the 6-figure mark now. You're the CEO of a company that does 1.2 million a year run rate. Like where do you want to take it?
Yeah, so talking about some of those decisions and that time I can now dedicate towards, for the last 2 months while I was still kind of in and out of sales calls and stuff, and my evenings were filled with, like, the calendar was filled, so per se, for me to be able to make, like, if I was making 1 or 2 kind of big decisions a week, it was great. Whereas now I can make multiple on a weekly basis and drive forward. So what we're doing from here is we are going into new industries, breaking into new industries, developing a product. So in my mind, there's 2 kind of things. It's the marketing aspect for us and building a better product. And they're the 2 things I know that, number 1, we have a better product, we have a higher lifetime value. Number 2, we have better marketing, we can acquire more customers on a monthly basis. So therefore, those 2 things that I'm dedicating my whole day towards is making the business more money. Simple as.
I like it. You speak in a certain way, Joe. I've noticed it from this call. Like I think it's definitely evolved over time, because you never spoke with this like certainty.
No. Like,
it just kind of hit me on this call and from our last one. Like, this is one of the first times I've sat here and I've been like, you know what, Joe's actually right.
Yeah.
Like not that you haven't been right. I'm talking about like I fully believe everything you just said, because you said it with conviction. Where does that stem from with the conviction now? Like if somebody's watching this and they're thinking, hey, I want to scale my agency, but I'm not really like convicted or convinced that it can happen. Because you were kind of in that position 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, well, honestly, I'd say, Warren, like even from the calls with you, like you'd ask me these questions, and I kind of mumble an answer out to you, and I in the back of my head, I'm like, shit, like I actually don't know the answer to that. Like I don't know who the 10 people that are going to make us 500K a month are. Like when you asked me that, and I was like, how do I not know that? So it's like honestly, from us having some conversations, and me just having realizations, there, like whenever like any of these clear things that should be known by people. I think the issue a lot of people have with their agencies or growing any business is they just don't do the simple things right. It's like they're trying to overcomplicate absolutely everything instead of just knowing, for example, who are the 10 customers that could pay me 100K a month each. And that's the approach that you take with your business. Because, and this is also a limiting belief of a lot of other agency owners, is like in your business, that's huge for you because as in like you can get, to not dive in too much, like one company can truly pay you a lot and it can truly scale, but so can all other industries. And once I realized that, it's like, wait a minute, you don't have to sign one person and they pay you one time. You can sign one person, they pay you 100 times that month. So going back to the certainty piece, it's just from growing and evolving. I have to grow and evolve. We now have a team of 9 people. I couldn't be the same person I was in January. I had to evolve very quickly, and I'm still evolving. But if I came into calls with team members with complete uncertainty and they give a recommendation, I was like, oh, that sounds good. Like any Valentine, any of the team members will say, like, me in January compared to now is like, it's very different. There's a lot more back and forth. No, this is not happening, and that's what needs to be done. So it's more of a natural evolution.
Let's go. I'm glad to see it as well, because the conviction really stems from the internal, and I feel like that's what we worked on a lot throughout the last couple of months. I feel like everybody's, how they project to the outside world just really is a reflection of how they think internally. And you mentioned obviously a couple of things that you mainly got from working with myself with the business, obviously the sales aspects, the mental, and now more conviction. Like what else would you say you got from it? Because like I'm just actually interested myself.
Yeah.
Never mind anybody listening.
Honestly, the accountability to everything was huge. Like there's a few times you were on my ass about things, which is what's needed. And you didn't really have to be, if I'm honest with you. Like you could have said you could or you couldn't, but like a lot of people wouldn't. Like there was times where I was just feathering away, not responding or whatnot. Like you were on my ass to get things over, and it kind of was a constant reminder for me. So honestly, like all the levers that you helped pull from the sales aspect, from a mental aspect, even just having someone in the back of your ear that's not someone on your team or yourself checking in, and you know they're there and they're going to ask you how things are going, and you're going to be ashamed to speak with them next time if things haven't changed since your last call, whether they are running an agency, whether they're running an e-com brand, or it doesn't matter what it is. Like just a general consulting and someone pushing you forward is so much, it drove me so much more forward to be like, okay, shit, this needs to be in place by next week. Because other times you would have just pawned it off. Something else gets added to the calendar and like, oh, that's more important. It's like, no, it's not. So that was a huge thing in itself as well. Just that accountability piece.
Yeah, I I remember Joe and I getting into a slight argument halfway through because I'd sent him a voice note. I'm like, Joe, there's only like a couple of people that have ever ignored me in my life, and I never thought it would be one of my clients.
Once that happened, I've completely shifted how I go about that. I used to leave messages unread, everything like this, and it's a work in progress for me still. But after that happened, I sat down and I was like, I went into WhatsApp and I went unread, and I was like, that's just disappointing. I was like, I'm pretending like I'm too busy to respond to those things. That is disappointing. So I've made a massive shift on that. So that's an honest to God. That's gonna be people like me a lot more now. I'm a lot more of a likable person since that happened. So
yeah, that was the probably the funniest part throughout this journey was calling Joe out for not responding.
It needed to happen.
But look, there's more behind it, miscommunication here and there. But I think it's, even for myself, like with my own mentors, it's important to have somebody just whispering in your ear all the time. And that's why people love the likes of Affinity. If you guys are looking to, if you're watching this thing, you're thinking, hey, I just want to actually get into sales. I'm not worried about building a 6-figure agency. I want to make my first couple of thousand online.
What hasn't been mentioned is Valentine, our COO, came from originally Affinity from Warren. Warren sent me him, and he was working as a sales role. He is now my right hand man. He's a part of the business. We speak like every day, and this thing would not run without him. As far as I'm aware, Senan was in Affinity as well.
Still in it right now.
He's our closer. He's running all the setters and everybody like that. So
2 of the setters are as well.
2 of the setters are as well. Sorry. Yeah. So I've gone to with Warren, but to go on the Affinity piece, like they're building something good, is what I will say, because it's true and it's honest. And I know this isn't exactly maybe for Affinity, but that's the one thing we all say is like a lot of sales organizations and companies out there, they build off of fancy and flashy marketing rather than building something true and proud. And a lot of the people we see come out of Affinity, they're actual good individuals with actual skill sets, setting them up for life, not just how to emotionally close someone on XYZ. There's a lot more to it. So that's just a caveat as well.
Yeah, I think it's just like naturally evolved over time to not just be this thing where, hey, we train reps twice a week, and it's more actually like a community where you have other people keeping you accountable. They're always connecting with each other in the Slack. I even see Senan always texting in about, hey, who wants to hop on mock calls and talk to new people in the Slack all the time. I must actually add you into it, Joe, just so you can get an actual insight to what it looks like. And I think the main thing that people say they get away from it now are, one, obviously you get the best job roles in the country, in the US. I mean, at the end of the day, we have 2 of the best recruiters, period, in the high ticket space. And then 2 is just a reference point. I don't know if you've ever looked into Tony Robbins much, but he always talks about reference points. And that's why I liked when we did the consultancy, because you use me as a reference point.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe, like, you can do this, because we created out of thin air from cold calling.
Oh, sorry. I know what you mean. That's an essential reference point. Yeah.
It's essential to have these reference points in your life, and that's what Affinity is. It's a reference point. Hey, there's some people 1 step ahead of you. There's some people that are 8 steps ahead of you. There's the mayor of Boston in there who's however many steps ahead, and you can use them as reference points. Even Chase. I mean, Chase is a COO for a hedge fund that manages $1 billion in assets, and I mean, I should introduce you to him at some point, Joe. And great guy on one. Secondly, just another reference point. He can do it. Why can't I?
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius talks about it. It's like, if it's humanly possible, like, believe it to be in arm's reach. Not, I don't think we can do it this month. And then Joe texts me 4 hours later saying he collected 25,000 euros.
Yeah, I remember the text now. It was, oh God, this would be funny to see now. 1 second. When was it? This Tuesday?
It was like last week, I think, or maybe perhaps the week before. I know there was like 6 days left in the month.
I said, last thing you said was, yeah, check in with you later. And then the next text was 24,187.98 collected since we spoke.
And that was just the simple switch around. I was like, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. But going back to that reference point you mentioned, is like, how can you expect to grow when all you see around you is 5 to 10K a month? Or like, even going back to the very basic level of it, like, how can you expect to evolve if you're surrounding yourself just even with your hometown, and you're not out of your hometown, you have nothing else as a reference point? And not everyone can move out of the hometown in the beginning, but like, that's where online communities and these other items were, oh shit, it's actually possible. And then at each stage you need to go through that, oh shit, it's actually possible. For me right now, it's like, what agency owner is doing 300K a month that I can speak to, that I can see, okay, it is actually possible? Because there's like, every stage you get up, it's harder to find those people, but you just need to keep finding those people.
You need to keep finding them. Like, even in our industry, there's people who walk into our warehouse all the time who do 10 times the volume.
Yeah.
It's like, one, I want to find out where your clients are, but two, it's humanly possible. But it's also an important point that you mentioned, and I actually created an entire YouTube video on this, so people are going to see that before this one, about leaving the hometown, leaving Ireland, getting out. Because one, you get to change your environment, and everybody knows that Ireland is just not ideal for sun. Joe's tanning each day in Marbella, and he'll tell you, like, it's a different environment completely. And number 3 is the frequency. Like, when you speak to agency owners that do 300, 400, 500K a month, I'll introduce you, by the way, to 2 or 3 in Ireland that do a couple million a year. And they will tell you, hey, look, maybe all you need to do to get from here is to do this to get to there.
You need one lever, you need one nugget, and you need one piece of info. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, let me go do that.
And you might have already known what that lever was, but it's just a reference point.
Reinforcement, yeah.
The reinforcement, be like, oh, that's it. And then you become emotionally convinced that that will work. And so you actually put more time and effort into it, because you know, even if you lose money on the front end, it's going to happen because other people have done it.
Yeah.
Because in this game of life and business, everybody's kind of winging it to a certain extent, but they're copying the wagon wheel that works.
That's the fun part of it.
Exactly.
Infinite game.
Exactly. But Joe, really appreciate the time. I think this is a perfect point to wrap it all off. In summary, obviously Joe has taken his agency from 10 to 30K a month in the span of about a year, right?
Correct.
And then from 30 to 108K in the matter of 4 or 5 months. And
3 months.
3 months. And so what a turnaround. Joe, any final thoughts, any final words, what you'd say to people if they're thinking about getting consultancy in the agency game? Any nuggets, really?
Yeah, I would say go for it. You need someone else on your side and someone that is those few steps ahead of you. And what I will just kind of hammer in on is don't look at Warren. I've known Warren for a while, and I have spoken with Warren when we weren't working together on XYZ, so I knew what he was capable of. Don't think you need to be running the exact business that Warren is running to be able to get value out of this. You need to be just doing something exactly aligned. And I think that's been an opener for me also, is, okay, I can go and speak to an agency owner doing XYZ, that's cool, but there's other people. It doesn't have to be in your exact field or scope. They're going to instill items in you that are going to break your beliefs currently to help you get to the next level. So very much keep that in mind. It's a holistic approach to growth. It doesn't need to perfectly align with what you do exactly. But I would say I can only take good things from our period in the calls we've done. They've kept me on my ass, kept me driving forward, as I said, helped me a massive place in terms of being a better person, replying to people, being a better team overall. So yeah, I'm a different person since January, and you've helped me massively there.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, Joe. But if you guys want to also connect with Joe, I'll put his socials into the bio of this video. Guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, put the bell notification on if you want to see more videos each time. We're doing more vlogs each month, and the vlogs are only getting better and better with the production team that we have. And Joe, appreciate the time. We will see you guys in the next one.
Amazing. Ciao.